Hey guys! So I'm back again. This week I read Gotham Central, book 1 in the Line of Duty. As you can tell, I'm still at home. I am lacking the posters. I'm sort of missing all my decorations, so hopefully for the next video, maybe I'll do it at my apartment then since my poster is there. For now, it'll just be blank behind me. But like I said, today I'm going to be reviewing Gotham Central Volume 1. I actually think I read this in probably about an hour or so. I'm typically a fast reader, but this was just, I really, really liked it, so I was sort of just absorbing it really quickly. Started off, I don't really know what I was expecting from this book. I, of course, was expecting some kind of like drama, kind of crime stories. I think one of the reviews, or one of the brief one-liners here, yeah, Baltimore City Paper said that Gotham Central is no stale Law and Order imitation. If anything, it's more like a season of The Wire. So from that, I sort of had an idea, I guess, of where they were coming from. And of course, I was expecting the darkness and the drama that typically follows Gotham City. There's actually a really great introduction in this book by Lawrence Block about Gotham City and where they pulled the name Gotham from. It was really interesting. Apparently, it was a little English town before. But there's a lot of detail to it, so if you want to read it, or if you want to know what it is, I'm sure you can probably Google it or something, or find this, I suppose, but it's really interesting. So I was expecting all those kinds of things from this book. I was expecting some kind of, like Criminal Minds-esque kind of story. This book is broken up into, I would say probably like 3 different stories within themselves, but they all, of course, are connected, and it starts on June 23rd, and I think it ends around the end of the month, or the end of June. So everything happened incredibly fast. It would be literally day by day, which sort of puts you in the perspective of a detective or a cop, really showing you what kind of timeline you would go through in a typical day as a cop, and how fast-paced a crime or a case could actually be. So it starts off with Mr. Freeze killing a detective, which sort of catalyst the entire book. They didn't think they would run into Mr. Freeze. They actually thought they were going to go after some kidnappers of a 14-year-old girl, but instead they stumble upon him, and it just sort of, it doesn't really climax in the beginning because that sort of, like I said, starts the whole entire book, but it just right away it throws you straight into the plot, and it shows you how gritty cop life can be. So it starts off with Charlie Fields and Marcus Driver, I think. Yeah, they're the first 2 detectives introduced, and they're the partners obviously in the beginning, but Charlie is killed by Mr. Freeze, and after that happens, basically the entire task force, all of MCU, Major Crimes Unit, focuses on his death and try to figure out what's going on before they bring the Batman in. It was, what I thought was really interesting was the relationship with the Batman. I don't know why I keep saying the Batman, but the relationship with him is sort of a love-hate kind of relationship. Of course, they realize that bringing him in is a necessity most times, especially when dealing with psychotic killers or Two-Face or Joker or Penguin and people like that, but they really do hold themselves to figuring out these crimes by themselves. They don't want to just be sort of the second string to him. They want to ensure that if he wasn't there, they could really protect Gotham themselves, but at the same time, they realize that when it gets to the point of crazy people, or if there's some kind of line that technically or lawfully they can't pass, it is up to the Batman to really come in and take down whoever is necessary to take down. But for this particular instance, when Charlie Fields is murdered by Mr. Freeze, Marcus, his partner, really feels the need to solve this on his own, or have at least the police department solve it without Batman's help. He wants to show that Batman, if anything, might have started all the crazy killers like Mr. Freeze, or he really made an open invitation for crazy psychotic murderers or psychopaths to come into the city. So he goes to the commissioner, who is not James Gordon in this book. James Gordon retired at this point. So he asked the newly founded commissioner to please don't turn on the bat signal. We want to handle this ourselves. It's up to us. He was one of our own. So from that point you can really sort of establish what kind of characters these detectives are, because they all take it to heart. They all drop all their other, well, not drop all their other cases, but they put everything else on pause and really focus on this since it was one of their own. And you can see from that what kind of detectives they all are, and how, although typically they are overshadowed by Batman, they still maintain that kind of integrity that they think is necessary to be a detective in Gotham City. So I really enjoyed the relationships between each detective themselves. Originally I thought maybe it would focus in on Marcus since it started with him, or on Renee or Crispus, but it really shows you the different personalities of each detective. I think all in all there might be about 4 or 5 different detective partners introduced in this book. But of course some more are spotlighted than others, like Renee and Crispus and Marcus. They are sort of more of the focus, at least, well, no, throughout the whole book they pretty much are. I think maybe because Crispus and Renee are more familiar characters out of all of them. But yeah, so far, well, where did I end off? Oh, okay, so when they're going after Mr. Freeze. So I don't want to spoil completely everything, because I know I always say this, I think you guys should read these books, but if you really do enjoy those kind of crime fiction shows like Criminal Minds or Law and Order or The Wire or anything like that, I would definitely say read this. It's really interesting seeing it in comic book form, because first of all, the art is something that I really enjoyed. I thought since it was Gotham City and because it was sort of dark and nitty-gritty kind of fiction, that they would really make it darker, and I don't know, the lines would be not as solid as they were in here. This book reminded me more of like the old Spirit comics, or Darwin Cook's books, or his art as well. It's sort of, I guess, a little bit more cartoony, but at the same time the lines allow you to really see the emotions on each character's faces, and the colors that they use in this book fluctuate depending on where they are, but of course if it is more of a gruesome scene, they are going to fluctuate more towards like a darker kind of shade, or if they are really, sometimes, okay, this might sound crazy, but there is one scene where they're trying to not necessarily shame Batman, because Batman's not even there. They're talking about him and how they don't want him there, or they don't want his help, at least at that point in the case. The lines, or the colors that they used, literally shifted page by page and detective by detective, which I thought showed their opinions on him, because some detectives were more along the lines of, well, we actually do need his help, he can do things that we can't, and those colors were a little bit, not rosier necessarily, but lighter, I guess. And then there were some detectives who were like, we shouldn't need his help, like this is our case, this is our city, things like that, and their colors were a little bit darker. That might be reading into it too much, but I thought it was really interesting because literally panel by panel it would shift colors. So I thought it was really cool. I really enjoyed the art in this book. Although I really do like modern art styles, I guess, like Jim Lee and artists like that. Art like this, I don't know, it brings the more comic aspect out into it, and it also shows that although the colors or the art style might be a bit more cartoony, it could still really deliver that kind of driven, dark motive that all these detectives have, or at least the city of Gotham has. So, enough about the art. I really enjoyed the art, but okay, so the first story is about Mr. Freeze killing the detective. The second one focuses back on the kidnapping of the 14-year-old girl that was initially put off because of Mr. Freeze's murder, or killing of detective. And then the last story, probably my favorite, well, I don't know. The last story was focused on Renee Montoya, who I'm sure most of you guys know becomes the question later on. The last story focuses on her, and someone's basically really trying to destroy her life. They're framing her, they're pulling out all her darkest secrets, and it's just the way that they wrote the story and the way that they wrote her lines in particular, I thought were so good. That probably sounds really nerdy. But Renee Montoya, in her last section at least, she really shines. You see that although her, I don't know if you guys, well, you guys probably do know this. Before this book, okay, in this book, her partner is Crispus Allen, who I'm sure most of you guys know, becomes the Spectre later on as well. But before Crispus Allen, her partner was actually Harvey Bullock, and he's not in here at all, but he was actually kicked out of the force by internal affairs. So you can see the way the negativity she sort of puts on internal affairs, because they do pop up significantly at the end, in her story at least. And you see how she sort of regards other detectives because of that. Although she doesn't necessarily talk about it straightforward, she does bring it up probably 2 or 3 times in her story. But that really, really changes her opinions on things and changes her view of the department, and what defines a good cop versus a bad cop, especially when it comes to maybe hiding secrets or manipulating the truth in a way. Even though you might have the best intentions, the way you get there is a little bit shady. So her story in particular, towards the end, I thought was really interesting, because it really showed what kind of character she was. Not only personally, because you do get to learn a little bit more about her own personal life, but also her work life as a detective as well, because she is being framed, and there's a bunch of crap that she has to go through at the end, involving Two-Face, which I'll say because it is on the back, so I don't think I'm spoiling anything technically. But her story is really, really good. The first 2 stories tie into each other more, Mr. Freeze and the girl's kidnapping. And there's also a Firebug little twist in here as well. But Renee's story at the end does hold her own, I suppose, and it really shows who she is, which is why I'm really eager to get the 2nd volume, because I want to see how they spin off from that story, and how the rest of the department treats her after the shenanigans towards the end of this book. So I'm not going to give away too much more, because again, I really think you should read this. Of course, because it is more focused on the detectives and the police department, there is less supernatural or kind of magical things to it than maybe other DC comics has. But it is Batman, so you shouldn't be expecting too much crazy magic or anything like that. But still, it was a really good book. It really is all about the police department. And I just thought it was really cool, because usually, of course, if you're in Gotham City, you typically think that the law would be Batman, or it is more Batman intensive. Of course, you see the Commissioner and Harvey Bullock a lot in like Batman animated series and other Batman comics, but this is about the rest of the department, and it really shows their point of view in the shadow of Batman. So I don't know, this is a great book. Oh, I don't know if I should compare it to Gotham, the show, because it's completely different. First of all, the show has an entirely different set of characters than this book. I know I really want to do a comparison, but after reading this, there really isn't too much to compare. They're 2 completely different storylines, I would say, and they're both good in their own right. Gotham, the show, I think is doing a really good job of showing how dark Gotham can be, and they're giving you those familiar characters. So if you're not too much of a Gotham fan, or if you're not too much of a Batman fan, you're able to identify characters and situations. This one, even if I do know some people who are Batman fans, but they don't really know too much about the department, and neither did I until this book, besides like the Spectre and the Question. That's pretty much all I knew about them. But this, I think, is completely different, and it really dives more into how the department handles things, which I have to say Gotham can't handle yet, because Batman isn't a thing in their world. So again, 2 completely different things. They're both really good though. If you haven't seen Gotham, I definitely think you should give it a shot. I was a little bit hesitant of it initially, because I love Batman, so I was afraid that this show would I loved Commissioner Gordon too, so I was afraid the show might stray from the truth, or it might, I don't know, change his character or personality. But it really is a good show, and then this book actually strays away from the main characters, so they're, again, 2 different things. You can't really compare them, but they're both awesome. And I think that's pretty much it I can think of this point. I think I'm losing a lot of sunlight, so I might have gotten like really dark over this video, but sorry about that. Hope you enjoyed this little review slash not really comparison. Next week I'm not sure what I'll be reviewing or doing. We'll see. I'm probably gonna be at my apartment. Maybe I'll do a random walk around vlog or something like that. Actually, my cousin wants to do a video with me. He doesn't really read too many comics, but he's the one who gave me Kick-Ass. He's a big Superman fan, and he's a huge fan of The Flash show and Arrow. So I'm all up to date with The Flash, but I'm not up to date with the Arrow, so maybe if I catch up next weekend I can do a video with him and sort of discuss our opinions on it, I suppose. And that's going to be it for now. Thanks for watching, you guys. If you have any suggestions for books, let me know. I'm definitely be picking up the second volume of this as soon as I can. I actually really want to do an in-stock trades order soon because I realize I haven't done in a while. And there's a few other books that I've been meaning to get to, so I mean, it's Christmas. Almost. Maybe I can. We'll see. I'll think about it. And I'm also, I don't know if any of you guys do it. Do you guys Loot Crate? If you're not sure what it is, it's basically a monthly subscription of a package, basically. Every month there's a different theme, all sort of nerdy in their own right. I think there was like a Transformers one, there was a Villains one, I think there was like a Super Mario one, but basically every month you would get a package surrounding this theme, and I'm tempted to do it just because I think it'd be interesting and I want to see what I receive. I think it's just a bunch of random things like shirts and keychains or collectibles and stuff like that. Something that I'm pretty sure the community will be interested in. So if any of you guys do it, let me know how it is. I'm curious to see if the packages are actually worth it. So yeah, thanks you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.